Welcome, Shift Crew, Empath Nation. It is another day on planet Earth. Let's hang out. Let's get this party started, Pia. How are you doing this morning? I want to start this episode off a little different. I want to start this episode off in the correct way. And what is the correct way to start this episode, Emma? It's really to tune into the gentleness. Because I feel sometimes I'm a bit aggressive to myself and to the podcast and to the energy. And, start this episode off with love and really acknowledging the amount of, you could say softness and sentience and care that the universe has for itself. The universe has a lot of love and care for itself. And so that's how we're going to begin this episode, with just a little bit of love and care and tuning into the energies of the now is what we're dealing with. And because I think where we're headed with this episode, yesterday I did a Instagram story about what I called, if I try and keep it PG, let's just say the dumb effing masculine. And I want to go into that because it's a great place to start when we're talking about sensitivity, because really the insensitive masculine is what we're contending with. And to remember that, of course, we have both energies within us. We have both a masculine side and a feminine side, as simple as a left brain and a right brain, but also the esoteric psychic energies that exist within us. And so, as above, so below, as within, so without. So just as there are dumbass masculine energies that are on the outside of us, there's dumbass masculine energies that are on the inside of us. Chicken and the egg syndrome, what came first? That's called ancient history. But how do we deal with it? We deal with it right now. So part of the transformation that's happening with the feminine, as we see in culture and also as we see in our own psyches, the rising up and the rebalancing and the equality of the feminine energy in our world and inside of us, it's brushing up against the dominant force of a masculine energy that has also been out of balance, right? I mean, this is it's a rebalancing act. So that's what I want to cover today is the nuances of the rebalancing act of the masculine and the feminine within us. And then also I want to segue into, where is all that happening? Turns out it's happening on planet Earth. And so I want to talk about what is planet Earth. So let's kick this off. So welcome everybody to another episode of the Obsidian Blade Medicine Hour. And I'm so glad you're here. I'm always grateful that we get to spend time communing together. And I'm grateful to create tribe with you. Jessica, good morning. I'm grateful to create tribe with you. I'm grateful to be hopefully a voice of clarity and healing for you in whatever way that you need. And it's an honor. And I'm very grateful that we have time together every few days to pull this off. And good morning to everybody, and may this serve you. So that's really the thing that I'm always concerned about, and you can always give me feedback, is what I'm presenting here usable for you? Because the way you could call me, if I take the title healer or shaman or psychic surgeon, right, it's the job of those titles to accurately diagnose the symptoms of the patient. And it turns out the patient that we're talking about is the entire planet. Not so much Earth herself, but her children. And so it's very much my focus is what's going on with the kids. meaning all of us, from age 0 to however long you decide to exist on the plane of Earth, what's going on with kids? What's going on with us? And why are we doing what we're doing? Especially when what we're doing has been causing us suffering and causing others suffering. And so we want an end to suffering. It's just the basics of liberation is to stop suffering. That would be the first step. I think the second step of liberation is then reclaiming your freedom to choose, and which means your freedom to move in a healed world. And a healed world also means the freedom to move within a larger body of consciousness, because then you are no longer, once you're aligned with life, then you're no longer a threat to life. And when you're no longer a threat to life, then you're free to move, right? You've been taken out of quarantine because you're healthy. And so we are all fundamentally healthy. But when we've adopted a life of imbalance due to it becoming normalized in culture, then we are not free to move. The universe puts our ass in check and says, you're sitting out until you realign. And so for me, that's what's needed. As the psychic surgeon, I'm putting out a general warning. It's time to align. It's really time to align with life. And of course, all of you know how to do that, but may we be here to have each other's backs, because even though there's only one problem going on, it manifests itself in a million different ways. And that's one of the tricks to our current age of transformation, the shift that's going on, is that it can look like, oh my God, how do I solve this thing? How do I solve that thing? How do we handle this over here? Turns out there's actually only one problem. It just manifests itself into a myriad of ways. I like to say this phrase, Source doesn't make it hard to know itself. Only we get to do that. So there's no real riddle to planetary healing. There's no hardness to it. Only we get to make it hard. And I have absolute compassion for that last statement, because I know how juicy some of our addictions to disharmony are. We are straight up junkies for disharmony, and our bodies reflect it. Our bodies can and do hold those certain psychic energies of being out of harmony with the truth, and truth being life itself. And so that's where we do the work. But to remember, we live, because of our hyper-connected age, it can be very overwhelming. Because we're notified of the endless myriad of problems that stem from the singular issue, which is being disconnected from life. And so one of the big things that we deal with right now, we're coming out of the ice age of the toxic masculine. And I kind of also want to give maybe that a different name. I feel like nowadays, when we give something a name, it becomes a cause to rally around, and then you can then create an identity about what you're for and what you're against. And we can tend to lose our compassion in that moment. And definitely on my rant on Instagram stories yesterday about the toxic masculine is harsh. It's harsh. Sometimes we need the slap to wake up to our behaviors. And so again, whatever I'm talking about, the masculine energies, we have them. No matter your gender, you have masculine energy in you. So how do we know that? Well, masculine and feminine energy can be brought down to their basics of, masculine is an outward penetrating force. So when you're in a doing action mode, that's a masculine energy. The feminine can be generalized as a receiving energy, a softer energy, an open energy that is, again, allowing something to come inwards. And again, it's not to kind of transform that word feminine also. Feminine is not a passive state. None of this is passive because all of this is energy. So feminine, I think when it gets put in a negative dialogue, it's about being passive, but it's not. Feminine is a very active state. We are active in the state of receiving what we're calling forth, and then we're active in the state of going outward and penetrating the world with the encoding that we've received. One of the things that I definitely stand for and what I feel represents the Aquarian age as we're going forward is the understanding of how we have both these energies inside of us, but also how both of these energies need to be and will be acknowledged in the workplace, in our business of life, the fundamentals of working and staying alive and planting seeds and harvesting, whatever that is for you. Both energies need to be worked with. So a great transformation that is happening, and I think will happen even further in the workplaces across the globe, is one where we operate from the feminine first. It's not feminine only, because that can be the weird thing that a lot of people get weirded out by or are afraid of. Like, oh, so we're switching we were in the masculine and now we're switching to the feminine as a planet, as a culture. No, we just need to get back into balance. That's what's been going on. It hasn't been so much that the masculine has been hyper dominant, even though it has been. It's more a case of imbalance rather than dominance. It's been an unhealthy dominance of the imbalance. So, going forward, my question to you is, how will you integrate the feminine, as you probably already do, into your daily life of living? So, say you have a new project or you're in the workplace. How does the workplace say, okay, we have a new initiative going forward, or we have a new project, or we have a new product that we want to create? How is the feminine consulted and first? How are the feminine, rather than going out and doing, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? Right? Notice how we get into the mode of how do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? The new mode would be, how do I receive it? How do I receive this new project first? How do I receive this new business first? What does life want to inform me about how this project can be in alignment with nature? How this product can have a positive effect for the people who create it and for the people who experience it. Let us receive that blueprint. And then once we've received it, then we go and do it. So really honoring the feminine first, as it happens in nature and in our sex, we honor the feminine first, and then the masculine is allowed to penetrate, right? This is the healthy version of that. We are working with the basic sex energies of creation, and anything that we do on this planet, it's a creative act. And on some level, it's a sexual act of where the basic elements of masculine and feminine energies, the duality, are combining to create the singularity. So I bring this up to say, look, we've got to transform the way we do business, the way we do life on planet Earth. And this is one of the main things of the Aquarian age coming forward, is an honoring of how energy flows and what comprises energy, right? And that there's a dualistic aspect to energy, the feminine side and the masculine side. For the Toltec Mexica, it's the term Ometeotl, where it means two energies, the honoring of the two sacred goddess and god-like energies that form the one. And so we are working with duality to create the one. And so I'll just bring that up on a side note. Oh, side note, evolution as a side note. It's kind of the main thing. So how do you feel about that? What would you love going to If you work in an office or if you're creating a business, would you love to work in a place that honored the feminine first? Honored life first, and then said, how may we receive the instructions from life itself for this project or for this product? And then once we've put it inside of us and allowed it to gestate inside of us, then we say, how do we, now that we have the sacred alignment with life, then we go outward, because now we've created the alignment first within us. And then we go outward in the correct way because we've created that alignment with life and harvest and nurtured life within us first. And then all our outward actions stem from those roots. So this is really to honor that process, that this is the way to do anything you do in life now. And you probably have been doing it. If you're hanging out with me, you probably already have naturally been doing it. But just to put words and concepts around it, the natural way is honoring the feminine first. And then once we've aligned with life, we take our actions from that direction of the feminine. The masculine is directed by the feminine. And you can see, okay, like in current culture, right? The toxic masculine who is isolated from the feminine. Right now, I think that's definitely a big way to see it. The masculine, when it's toxic, is isolated from the feminine. I can diagnose it on that level. So you look at the actions that happen in the world right now, there's a lot of masculine energy that's completely disconnected with life, which could be represented by the feminine. Huge, huge. Look at the personification of the isolated male we have as a president right now. Look at that right now. That is like, it's like the ultimate, like, and we can complain about it. We could complain about it, but look, we're in diagnosis. We're in surgery. We're in the middle of a surgery right now. That's what's going on, planet Earth. We're in the middle of a surgery. And if you want the surgery to be successful and healed, you've got to find the pus. You've got to find the wound. You've got to find the infection. You've got to find the misalignment. So what better way to show it and shove it in your face? There's a misalignment with the masculine. And right now, the masculine is at large, the masculine at large is isolated from the feminine, just as humankind is isolated from the planet Earth. The essence of the feminine, the mother, the great mother. Right now, humankind in the majority is isolated from the great mother, just as the masculine is isolated from the feminine. Well, I'm going to quadruple, triple down on that one. My whole body has resonance with that. How does that feel for you? Starved for compassion, starved for connection, but as any feminine or woman will lay down the law, she's not going to open up for a man who's disconnected unless she's really flexing a lot of compassion, and with the hopes that the isolated male, will become healed through her being vulnerable first, right? But, how healthy is that, right? We're seeing a lot of repercussions from the feminine opening up to the masculine that's still remaining isolated, even though she's opened her heart and opened her body to him. An isolated male is toxic. An isolated male is dangerous. And we can see dangerous masculine energy all around us. So I love how it was just coming through. Look, we're in the middle of surgery. We're in the middle of surgery, and the toxicity is being exposed, and we need to handle it because there's no going forth with the way it is. And so how do we handle? This is a great question that I'm looking at myself. How do we handle toxic masculinity? How do we handle it? Often I come across it more randomly when I go out into the world. Unfortunately, I sometimes have to leave my house and in the middle of surgery. So you know, when we go out into the world, okay, we're exposed to the dominant paradigm, right? And that dominant paradigm has its conditions, its diseases right now, and until we've healed them, they're prevalent. And I see the toxic masculine both in men and women. I'm not saying this is a gender specific thing, but it is more personified by the dude who doesn't get it and is walking through the world, basically penetrating the world with his numbness. He's penetrating the world with his isolation. And that is a dangerous force. And we have to call that out. Now, the hardcore side of me is like, cut that out. Like, is it time for me to get my weapons and go hunting and exterminate this force? Or is there a way that there can be a very strong no? There's the word no, that is not happening any longer. And a demand, a line in the sand that says the masculine must heal. The masculine must heal. There is no more rewarding toxic masculinity. And right now, our culture rewards toxic masculine. Right now, our culture rewards the isolated masculine. And I'll show you how. It's called the sports car. The sports car, for me, is the trophy for the isolated male. And right now, you see a lot of isolated males going out and trying to win the trophy of the sports car, thinking that that's going to open the legs of the feminine. Now, you got to ask, what type of feminine is opening her heart and body to the isolated masculine? Because we seem to celebrate that in the photography of our current culture. We seem to celebrate that in all the awards shows for movies and popular culture. You know, I was breaking down on my Instagram, stories yesterday. I showed a picture of a well-dressed man standing in front of a fancy car. And you see this image, like when you talk about the negative imagery for women, that's a negative imagery for the men. It's a huge, and we don't even bother to question it, but I'm going to show you why we should question that image. Now, this isn't to say, hey, go out and get the fancy clothes and look great and look clean. Look, I'm looking clean and I'm looking maybe fancy, and that's great. It's like, I want to present myself that way. And hey, go get the car that you want. This is not what this is about. It's just about celebrating the surface. When we celebrate the surface and then we call that masculine, we're fucking up. And we're putting attributes onto men that may not be how men really want to be in the world. Looking like putting on a suit and getting the Porsche. Whose dream is that? And why have we created a culture that celebrates that as the pinnacle of success rather than true masculine aspects of success? So what would be a better aspect of masculine success? How about care? How about compassion? How about nurturance? How about the symbol of a successful man is nurturance? I never see that in a photo. I just see that I'm told that I need the sports car and the 3-piece suit, and that's it. And then I've made it. And then all the women are going to open their legs to me and I'm successful. Really? That's what we're going to not call out? I'm sorry, I got to call it out. It's bullshit. It's not masculinity. Those images are not masculinity in and of itself. It's called materialism. And so masculinity on a certain level has been masked by materialism. And the same goes for the essence of the feminine. There's a phrase out there, God, I don't know if I can remember it correctly, but it's from an author, and she wrote it. It's something like, the goddess is wearing the costume of the patriarchy, and I love it. And I think the masculine right now is also wearing a costume of the patriarchy. And so we've got to let these images go. I'm not saying don't look awesome and don't get the life you want. Don't go get that mansion. Don't go get that car. Just realize that the symbolism of what that means has been lost. And I'll tell you why it's toxic, because most people I see on the highway driving a fancy car, be it a Tesla, oh, you're so fucking eco, and a BMW or a Porsche or whatever fancy car out there, notice how they drive. The majority of people who own those vehicles drive as if you are in their way. So how does earning such a symbol of status that should mean, okay, maybe you're a benevolent king, actually you're just a dick in disguise. And so I think it's really time to call this out. There's a lot of entitlement going on this planet. And there's a lot of, how would I say, like, the self-importance is off the scale right now. And these are all, and I'll just round it back to in circle, these are all symptoms of the out of balance, disconnected male. And that's where we're at. So how do we heal it? How do we heal this high prevalence and celebration of the disconnected, isolated male? So this is one for us to collectively figure out, because like my harsh side is like, maybe it's time to, like I said, slice and dice. And how about none of those males are allowed to procreate anymore? How about we create a culture that does not celebrate the isolated male, does not celebrate the three-piece suit, does not celebrate the Porsche, the Audi, the Tesla, the materialized objects, and we get back to celebrating nurturance. We get back to celebrating protection. We get back to celebrating sensitivity. Where the fuck is the Academy Awards for sensitivity? Not meaning I'm overwhelmed by my emotions type of sensitivity, right? Because that gets plagiarized. Sensitivity gets plagiarized by the dominant culture and made to look weak, right? I'm talking about where's the Academy Awards for sensitivity in the masculine and in the feminine. And remember, ladies, the feminine is going through this healing as well, because the masculine energy, the toxic masculine energy, also has the potential to live inside of you because of the dominance of the culture that we live in. You got to be tough. You got to be a boss babe. Yes, be in control of your life. Make shit happen. But if we're making businesses, then maybe let me encourage you to make your business in alignment with life. So may the men and the women remember how to receive the feminine direction first for anything that you do. May you be guided and instructed and aligned with her first, and receive her plans, receive her way, and then take your masculine energy and go out into the world. I keep drawing the same two cards in the Toltec Oracle. So the other day I went into Cuautli, eagle, and then the other one is Kali, house. And I think I may have talked about this one as well. But these are really, the two cards together are really symbolic of what's going on right now, of where we are also astrologically. So, I mean, we take the symbolism of house, right? What is a house? A house has to have foundation. That's really what the two aspects of a house are: foundation and container. So what is the intention of the house, and what is held within the house? So each one of us right now is reconditioning those two things: the intention of the foundation of our home, which is really the intention of our body being the home? What is the intention of your life? And what is the vibration of that life, or the vibration of that intention? Because then what is going to be held in the fruit bowl of that vibration? Because like attracts like, right? So we each do the work, hey Alyssa, to create our foundation, set our intention, our vibration, and then gather, receive. Again, our houses are founded in the feminine. Not only are our houses resting upon her, the great Mother Earth, right? They all have their foundation on her and with her, but also they are a receiving. A home is an empty space that receives. But what is the vibration of what you're going to receive? Yeah, you're doing a 21-day detox to reset your house. Beautiful. I mean, this is the space. I mean, when we stop being victimized by life and we stop complaining about what's happening, we reset our Kali, our house. And that really, there's also a symbolism in this card. It's about the bones. You know, in the sacred order of creation, there's a sequence of how a child is born, how we come into form. There's a sequence to that. And that same sequence is done in the universe. And at a certain point in the sequence of a child being born or an intention being materialized, there is the part where the bones, the foundation, is formed, you know, and that foundation is poured forth, or the bones are formed around that original intention. And then what happens after the bones are formed, right? We have then the blood begins to flow through the bone. There's a sacred, this is part of the sacred sequence of materialization that we do in alignment with nature. And the Toltec lineage being one of the great lineages that honors the energies of nature and how things actually occur. That's my favorite thing about the Toltec lineage. It's not based on mysticism. It's based in the observable, because it turns out the observable is source energy. Source energy made manifest. When you look around right now, what do you think you're looking at? You're looking at, perhaps we are living in the projected realms of the third dimension, but it's all connected. It's connected to the intentions made forth by Source. And so you're looking at Source in the material form. And there is a sacred sequence that if we just observe, how do things come about? When you learn that, how do things occur? How do things manifest? And we look at a child being born in a mother as a symbol of that manifestation. You look how a child, a human form or an animal form is born. There's a certain universal sequence. And that same universal sequence that creates bodies on the earth is the same universal sequence that is how the universe exists. And we can learn that. And indeed, many indigenous cultures did learn it and have that knowledge right now for us to relearn. But whether you spend time with an indigenous culture or you spend time with nature, it's the same thing. When you observe either an indigenous culture that hasn't lost the knowledge, or you observe nature, you're looking to the same teacher. And it turns out the same teacher is present with us always, which is the Mother, the great Mother Earth. And she will guide us. The other card that I keep pulling out, it's amazing, is Cuautli, eagle. And the real symbol about this is, like, again, when I was looking at, like, how do we handle the toxic masculine right now within us and in our culture? We have to look at how we can take the problem and fly higher, right? That would be the symbol of the eagle, who is maybe standing on the ground first, but then has the ability to fly, the ability to take a situation that's on the ground and take it higher. So the situation on the ground right now is, look, we've got dangerous levels of disconnected masculine in our culture and our society, and dangerous levels of disconnected masculine within our own bodies. And so the first step is to heal that disconnection within us so that we are working in a sacred, life-giving, life-aligned way in all our simple actions and in our business actions. Eagle is the heart chakra. Feel that. You know, that's where we begin. But it's interesting, you know, again, that challenge when we meet the isolated masculine, the dangerous levels of masculine on the outside, how do we handle it? How do we take it higher? How do we treat it with compassion? Now, is that compassion a soft one of understanding, or is it a hard one that includes understanding but also operates with the forceful words, no, that shall not occur any longer? And that's where I feel I'm at with it myself. I'm ready to start calling it out forcefully, no matter the social decorum of the situation, right? You're in the middle of a coffee house and you see toxic masculinity, you yell, no. No matter where you are, you know, the socialization is keeping the surgery from happening. I would probably say it like that. The psychic surgery that's needed and being asked for is being cock-blocked by our socialization. It's time to stand out, to stand up for the realignment and rebalancing of the feminine and the masculine. And so when we see an out of balance masculine, we can at least say this. No. Out loud. Like, no more. No more. I did have a moment yesterday where I did say it out loud. No more. To toxic masculinity, which is symbolized by, can be symbolized by the male who is numb to his penetration. Why do I feel like that one lady who's popular on YouTube a while ago, like, dick is gonna make you crazy? I think you can Google that. There's like this like public access TV shows like penis is gonna make you crazy. I don't know why I don't want to be like that lady right now, but I'm telling you, there's such a symbol of the numb cock, right? To get real with it, the numb male cock going around penetrating the world, not having feeling as to the impact of his rape, of his penetration, of his force. And so we can really get into a state where we knock the masculine and say, oh, masculine is just shitty. The masculine's what a horrible, whoever thought about the masculine? It's not the masculine. It's the isolated, numb masculine that we've got to heal, because the real masculine is the protector, is the nurturer, is the one that helps gets things done, is the force that says, boom, now that I've received my alignment with life, we go forward. Now that I have sensitized and received the feminine, now I go into forward. And that's what we want to get back to as a culture. Yeah, Jessica, you know, receiving impotent energy or worse, toxic energy alters the vessel. And look, this is a group show. And right now, the collective vessel has to say no to celebrating numb masculine, irreverent, disconnected, dangerous, toxic masculine that is penetrating the world with its me first attitude, rather than the we first attitude of the collective, of the one. We've got to stop celebrating me first in its toxic expressions, because of course there's a balanced version of me first, which is I got to pee, I got to make some breakfast, I got to drink some water so then I can help other people, right? Of course, there's a balance to this. We are exiting the realm of polaric extremes, right? And we're finding our way in the Aquarian age to the middle path. So, of course, there's the healthy version of me first so that I can get to we first, in the balanced way. So, really, I just, like drive it back to you, that's the question, other than no, calling it out and saying, no, this is not acceptable anymore to allow dangerous, numb penetration of toxic masculine. May we relearn the ways to honor the feminine in our first, whether you're a man or a woman, finding that way to receive and open up to receive. And I think I would love to hear from the ladies, that must be an interesting evolution in you being the personification of the feminine, yet there is toxic masculine attributes inside of you that can thwart your own femininity. I think that's a really interesting thing that I want to hear more about. Like, what is that challenge to reclaim the feminine within a female body that's also been exposed and mirrors at times this numb, dangerous masculine? And so we always have to be on the lookout. Is the feminine really being allowed to be the feminine right now? Especially when you see a lot of movements of like, go out there, girl, and be a boss babe and hustle and dominate. Yes, but is that really what we're talking about? I mean, I can see the balanced version of that where a woman is honoring both her feminine and masculine and making shit happen while honoring her feminine. Yes, let's see that, and we are seeing that. But also the competitive isolation aspects, the negative aspects of a hyper dominance is what we've got to be looking out for, especially when I'm looking to women to be the leaders of what the feminine looks like. But perhaps I have the opportunity to show to be a leader of the feminine as it looks like in the masculine body. So, I'll own that. I am a leader. I'll just say it. I am leading what it looks like to be in balance with the feminine within a masculine body, and yet still honor who I am and be in the world how I want to be. So I know it can be overwhelming. We're in the middle of planetary surgery. And what is the healthy action for you to take to heal this toxic level of masculine? How do we do this? How do we do this? It's a great question. And I think as I open up that question, we can come to an answer, Really key point, Jessica. For years you lived in the masculine to protect yourself and wanted to create change. Now I know my feminine accomplishes that more effectively, vibrations or where it's at. And that can be a really interesting part of our psyche where whether you're a man or a woman, we've been dominated by the toxic masculine. And then we created personalities that move through the world in a hyper protected way. There's a natural form, of course, boundaries and protection that we do want. But the hyper protection that then becomes your dominant personality is something to look out for, because then we don't present ourselves to the world as we are. We present ourselves to the world as our persona of protection. And that's not a vulnerable person. That's not an open person who's ready to get past their story and finally live the life that they want, finally receive the things that they want. Because trust me, I'm looking at it going like, I'm really ready to receive the things that I want rather than living in a state of conditioned protection and conditioned a conditioned state of mantra that says, I don't get what I want. Emma, for you, the challenge is flowering into softness and grace. Your toxic masculine aspects block that inherent grace. Your Kali is to balance your feminine and masculine while opening deeper and deeper. Yeah. I think it is that question of how, I would say, how good are you? I mean, that's a very competitive way. Hey, how good are you at receiving? Again, where's the Academy Awards for receiving? But how you want to say how practiced? I guess you could say how's your muscular structure for receiving? I would say, and if I diagnose it like this, for me, or say for the toxic masculine, I can imagine it as there is the resistance to receiving, the fear of being penetrated by the feminine. This is funny, but I have a fear of being penetrated by the Mother Earth. Maybe that's somehow we were penetrated. Okay, I know it's a deep wound, and it's interesting. We'll all get to the root cause of the wound of why we fear receiving. It's about being vulnerable. It's about going, I'm calling forth the thing I want, but there's no way the thing that I want can ever come into my life unless I'm in my feminine and can receive it. There's no way for our desired manifestations to have a home if there's a lock and a strong door that won't open on that home, right? The FedEx, UPS, Amazon packages are piling up on your doorstep, but there's no way for the packages you ordered to come into your home unless you remove all the locks and perhaps even take that door off its hinges for a little bit so you can get used to opening up the windows and letting that cool breeze come in and nurture you. So really, wow, if we look at the feminine energy of nurturance, how open are we to nurturance and nutrients, and trusting that in our active state of receiving, we are protected. In our active state of receiving, the balanced masculine has our back and is holding together the foundation of the house for us, or is watching on the perimeter for danger, right? The perimeter, we have to get into that psychic energy of like, I am safe. The perimeter is being held by my protecting, masculine, and that the softness of the house can arise to receive. Yeah, there's such a connection to that word dismemberment. Yeah. I mean, when we talk about the disconnect, the how did I say it? The dismember. What was the word I was figuring out a few months ago? There's disconnect, dismember. Yeah, I mean, what does it be to be a member of society, right? Member means limb. And when our limbs of the collective psychic body are disconnected, then yeah, we have the flow, that we have broken energy. We have a broken energy within the house of humanity. So I think it's about being the change that we seek first. So if we want to see more feminine and more balanced masculine, we do it first. That's at least the one thing that we have a handle on is ourselves. So may we feel empowered to lead, show leadership, and become it first. And I think the valuable word is no. When we're out in society, we lay down the hammer. We hold court. And that doesn't mean you need to put yourself in danger or confrontation. May you find strength in saying the words no, and that you won't be fucked with for saying the words no. But trust me, you will startle people when you say the words no. You will shock people with the words no. That is not tolerated any longer. I mean, it's time to lay down the law, and you are the lawgivers. When you're in alignment with life, you are the lawgivers, and you can trust that you are allowed to dispense sacred law when you are in alignment with life. When you're in alignment with the goddess, feel confident that you are the voice and that you are allowed to dispense sacred law. And it is time to walk in the outward world dispensing sacred law by saying the words, no, that shall no longer occur. It is unacceptable for dangerous, isolated, numb, penetrating masculine to continue its actions as it is. And so we pray, and we hopefully can have action that realigns the masculine back to sensitivity, back to the awareness of its impact, so that all actions going forward are aligned with the feminine first, so that all actions going forward procreate life and protect life. And then we have symbols in our society that are awarded to that masculine because that masculine has shown that they have done that, rather than our society that awards the numb, isolated, toxic masculine with another fucking Porsche or another fucking 3-piece suit that then we're all supposed to suck his cock for. No, that means nothing to me. That is not a symbol of masculinity. Fuck that. Fuck you to the image makers, the dream makers. Fuck you. That's not my masculine. That means nothing. It means fucking nothing when you're numb and you're basically a rapist penetrating the earth with your insensitive cock. Pretty wild to use all these terms that I'm using right now, but that's the dialogue. Hope you're getting it. I know we're getting it, but I just like, it's real. That's what's really going on. And we're, like I said earlier, we're in the middle of surgery. And we got to diagnose the patient the way it is. But also fly higher. To not get saddened. To not get overwhelmed by the current state of dismemberment and disconnection. But be like, it's an opportunity. We're sitting in opportunity. We're sitting in ability and opportunity to heal ourselves and then society by living in sacred law. And which means really all that means is living in alignment with life. And who's the teacher of life? Well, just open your eyes. It's Mother Earth, and she's all around us, and we owe her everything. So we get with her, then you get with the sacred, and when you get with the sacred, you get with the laws that are the foundation for, existence. Ain't no mystery. Remember, a source doesn't make it hard to know itself. Only we get to do that. And I say it's time to stop making it so hard to know ourselves. We can learn a lot about ourselves when we take the time to observe why we're doing what we're doing and why that has occurred. What is where we're at. So that's what I have for you today. Anybody got any questions or anything you want to say about it? This is interesting. It's kind of interesting way to say it. Is this literally a fight for life right now? Is this literally a fight for life to reclaim a balanced masculine and an equally balanced feminine? So that we are constructing our homes and constructing our language and constructing our economics, and in a way that no longer moves and cuts with disregard to feeling. So here we are, open heart surgery, human species in the middle of the shift. Be the change that you're seeking. And hopefully we can get that plot twist we've been looking for in the story of Human, where we stop playing the roles of somebody else's dream and find some real hope that we can take the current situation and make it go higher, because we have the wings, we have the abilities to do this level of work. Yes. So if you want to go deeper on this, I offer, the Shift Crew, the private Facebook group. Would love to see you there. I'm going to go in there today and lay down some more, deep questions around this topic. And that's where we can back and forth and dialogue about this. And also, please check out the podcast. If you like the audios from this, like what we're talking about here, and you want to listen to it later, of course, you can listen to it on the podcast, which is at theobsidianblade.com/subscribe. Links to that are underneath this video on YouTube. And of course, the links to that are in the bio. And we're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. PST, 1 p.m. Eastern. We have to continue. We have to continue this dialogue. And, I'm grateful that we get to hang out. And I am honored that we have these moments together. And, it's my intention to be that Kali, that house where clarity is achieved and healing is achieved. And so that's my intention. And I'm so happy to be able to live this way and serve you in this way. So love you so much, and I will see all of you on Friday, or send me a message in the DMs, or join the private Facebook group, and we can go deeper on all of this in whatever way you need. Okay, have a great day.